Hi, I'm Joy,
Hi, I'm Lorraine.
and this is Girlish Gurus. And Lorraine, why are we here?
We're here to talk about mid-lifestyle topics for women who are 45 and older to help you live your best, healthiest, and most fulfilled life. We're also going to have lots of fun along the way.
So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Girlish Gurus. I'm Joy.
And I'm Lorraine.
Lorraine, what are we talking about today?
Today we have a special guest, and actually I was introduced to Stephanie a while back because I read her book about lichen sclerosus, which little did I know that I would be diagnosed with, probably 2 years after we met. So anyway, today though we're talking about something different with Stephanie Hrehirchuk. Is a writer, coach, and teacher with a background in personal training, nutrition, Qigong, Ayurveda, and women's wellness. With over 25 years in health and personal development, Stephanie brings a grounded, soulful approach to movement, energy, and healing. She's the multi-award winning author of An Accidental Awakening, It's Not About Yoga, It's About Family, and over 10 other titles on wellness and spirituality. In this episode, she's talking about how Qigong can support women's health, especially during menopause.
Dun, dun, dun.
Welcome, Stephanie.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lorraine and Joy. It's so great to be here with you ladies.
Yeah. So Joy, I think, will start us off. She has a question for you because I know there's a lot of women out there that maybe have never heard of Qigong.
Well, I do have a question for you about that, but first, Lorraine, you're going to have to talk about that lichen sclerosus at some point there. I'm just saying. That's a you sprung that on me. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Now, Stephanie, I have heard of Qigong. And first, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Qigong.
That's correct. Yes, Qigong.
Okay. I've heard of it before, but honestly, I really have very little idea about Qigong and what it does for you. Can you give us a little background and explain what it is and how it works, especially in the context of women's health?
Yeah, for sure, Joy. So Qigong is multi-thousand-year-old mind-body practice.
Wow.
There are hundreds of different forms of Qigong around the world. It originated in China. I like to think of Qigong, we talk about yoga and Ayurveda as sister sciences. And Qigong and traditional Chinese medicine have that same relationship of sister sciences. So Qigong is a moving meditation, right? It balances the body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the physical body. It's aimed to cultivate more qi, which is vital energy in the body, and remove stagnation. So stagnant energy from the energy channels, but also from the tissues in the body, and stagnation in the mental, emotional body as well.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So Stephanie, what inspired you to create a Qigong program specifically for menopausal women?
Yeah, so I've been studying Qigong for, I want to say about 15 years now. I was personal trainer, women's wellness, strength training, fitness, health, nutrition, all the things. Had a spinal injury, moved more into yoga, Ayurveda, Reiki, some of the complementary alternative modalities to help with the spinal injuries. And I was introduced to Qigong. And what's interesting is kind of my whole life, I've had amazing teachers, but I've always asked the question, what do the women do? What did the women do? What did the women do? I have some amazing male teachers, but what did the women do? I never felt like we were quite getting the level of women's health. And I had studied for about 10 years with one particular Qigong master, who's amazing. And then I met Daisy Lee, who's an advanced women's Qigong teacher. And she introduced me to women's Qigong, and that was it. My mind was blown. She was talking about breast health. She was talking about vulva health. She was talking about ovarian health. She was talking about, all the things. And I was going through menopause, and I'd done all the things right. I had a background in nutritional wellness. I was a yoga teacher. I was a meditation teacher. I was doing all these things that I thought, menopause will be a breeze. I have all these, tools in my toolkit. And then menopause hit me like a Mack truck.
Oh, yeah.
And I dug in deep into my Qigong practices. And Lorraine, I've read your book on the vagus nerve fix, and such a great book. And let me tell you,
Thank
I mean,
you.
the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, yes. Oh, and that, yes. And yeah, everybody needs to know this. So
Thank
the
you.
vagus nerve is so, I mean, it's so key to health, but really when I hit menopause, that's when I realized, that fight or flight that we tend to get stuck in, the anxiety, the hot flashes, the anger, the nervous system triggering, that rest and digest state, that vagus nerve toning, that's Qigong. That's what Qigong
Wow.
does for us. And so the women's Qigong was addressing all of these specifics of women's health, and I was applying them to everything I was going through in menopause at the time.
That is awesome. And it's amazing that even in that realm in Eastern medicine, or however you want to phrase it, that it was still geared towards men mostly. That,
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one example. When I love to we do Qigong cupping and bouncing at the beginning of every practice, right? So, we do a little bit of bouncing, which starts to free up stagnant energy. And I mean, even that's just good, to start every day to get the joints and the limbs
yeah.
going. And then you go to cupping. And I'd always learn from my male teachers that you would cup straight down the torso, right? So there was this very masculine way of cupping down the torso. And then I met Daisy Lee, and suddenly, we're gently cupping around the breast to remove stagnant energy from the breast tissue. Or if there's a breast health project, we're gently placing the hand, or we're hovering, just the
Yeah.
whole energy of the practice became a little bit more nourishing for the female body.
Oh, I love
That
to hear that.
that's interesting because we do talk a lot about how the medical community has really not focused on women's health at all and is geared toward men, and frankly has been forever. So I'm very happy to hear that there is a whole subset of Qigong that does focus on women. And as I sit here sweating in my studio, yes, I can really appreciate how you can calm yourself and address issues just with your own energy, just right where you sit, basically. If that's what I'm hearing from you, that's what I understand.
That's the amazing thing, Joy, for me with Qigong. And I think that's where, we're so fortunate. I mean, we have unprecedented access, in most of the world to a buffet of allopathic and complementary alternative medicine. I mean, really, I'm so grateful that we
Mhm.
have so much access. And like you say, we're getting better at women's health. We're seeing a lot more research and energy go into it. But I like the practices that I can learn and then I can do it while I'm sitting at my desk, or if I'm getting on an airplane, or if I'm driving
Yes.
in traffic, or right, like I
Yeah.
call it living Qigong or living yoga. I'm a single
Yes.
mom, I'm an author, I'm a Qigong teacher, I'm a real estate agent.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I'm all the things that I love to do. And I need a practice that I can, pull out of my pocket in the moment.
Exactly.
I
And
And
it,
wish
it doesn't
I
cost
wish
me.
I'd have had that in law school. I gotta tell you.
Oh,
You want to talk about stress? Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I bet. Well, and it's one of those things you think they need to teach this to our kids, right?
Yes,
mhm.
Like if we grew up with these tools, it'd be a whole new world.
it would. So that leads me into my next question. As you said before, menopause hit you like a Mack truck and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh, yes. So I went through all of the same sort of symptoms. I had hot flashes. I had vicious mood swings. A lot of different things happened to me that I never saw coming. I was in generally pretty good health at the time. And I felt like, okay, well, menopause should not be too much of an issue. But in fact, I did experience some pretty difficult moments going through menopause. Can you give us some examples of how Qigong could help women deal with some of these symptoms and help ease the suffering as we progress through perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the key things that I noticed personally, and I know everyone's menopause journey is so unique. We share things in common. but really we each have our own path through it. But the sleep, for me, the sleep.
Oh, big one.
If I
Yeah.
could sleep well, I didn't have aches or pains the next day. I had energy. I could just be happy for no reason. If I'm not sleeping, I have to conjure happiness. Like I got to go, okay,
Yeah.
and we do have a meditation in Qigong for that. You know, the eyes are happy, the ears are smiling, the nose is smiling, like you will smile up your whole body. And I was having to do that in the morning just because the sleep wasn't there. So my body wasn't recovering. And what I find, I think the biggest perk with Qigong, the product that people I think mention the most is improved sleep, right? So again, that rest and digest, that vagus nerve toning, and that can really be huge for your whole menopause journey. The hot flashes, I was shocked by, well, I shouldn't say that because I have had 2 spinal injuries, but I was shocked at how the menopause hot flashes were very similar to having a spinal injury.
Oh,
Really?
really?
That's interesting.
Yes, and it, it kind of crawls up the body and
Yes.
but all the anxiety, I would have never considered myself an anxiety-ridden person. And I couldn't believe the anxiety that would rise with the heat. And so it's this rising yang energy, right? The masculine, the active, the solar, and it can rise as a hot flash, it can rise as anxiety, it can rise as anger,
Mm.
right? So all of this sort of yang rising energy, that I think was the most profound thing for me once I really mastered showering chi and the ability to draw up the earth's cooling energy and push down the rising energy. And I could do it literally in my kitchen. You know how you go from, oh my goodness, like I'm soaking through. And instead of trying to figure out what to, I would go immediately into showering chi and literally flush the whole system and flush that excess yang energy and that excess heat out of my system. So that to me, because you can do that in like 3 to 9 rounds. And that to me was magic. I was like, oh, everybody should know showering chi. And
Yeah,
so,
it sounds like magic to me right this second. I gotta tell
oh
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
I teach that a lot. So I would say the sleep, some alleviation for the hot flashes, the rising yang, the anxiety, the anger, the agitation, that solar energy that can come up so quickly and so strong. The other thing I noticed was I was starting to develop a little bit of the frozen shoulder, and I mean, I'd been a weightlifter, I'd been an athlete, and I was like, what have I done? And then you read up, there's no scientific connection between menopause and frozen shoulder, but a lot of women sure report it. So, we do a lot of work on the joints, working through the shoulders, working through the hips, trying to release any stagnant energy, which tends to pool a lot in the joints in the body. And within a couple weeks of practicing with Daisy Lee, this that had been going on for months, completely gone, has not come back. So the aches, the pains that come along with menopause, I've found personally Qigong's been really, really helpful for alleviating that.
Wow.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds magical. And I'm all about the magic.
I will say there's a little joke. We have many little jokes in Qigong. We call it a very happy practice, but I do have a little joke that I tell people, the good news and the bad news. The bad news is you have to practice Qigong every day. The good news is you get to practice Qigong every day.
Right, right.
Hey, Lorraine, don't forget, it's time for us to schedule our Lifeline screening appointments. They're 5 simple tests to help us keep on top of our heart and bone health, which is important for women over 45.
Yes, Lifeline Screening has been the premier provider of preventative health screening for over 30 years. In that time, over 10 million people have had screenings to detect their risk of stroke, cardiovascular disease, and other chronic illnesses. Lifeline Screening can provide meaningful benefits for your body and mind, and that's why they're committed to delivering accurate results and recommendations that could give you a healthier advantage in your everyday life, such as early detection of serious conditions, prevention of disease progression, peace of mind so you can enjoy life, savings with more affordable screenings, and no insurance required.
Yep, and don't forget, by using the link in the show notes of this episode, you get a special offer available to Girlish Gurus listeners, so make sure and schedule your appointment.
Get peace of mind now. Here's to your good health.
So the fact that you have this program for Qigong, can you share some of the transformational or success stories for women that have been in your program and maybe even go into a little bit about exactly what you do in the program?
For sure. So this is a program I've taught in person as well. And I love teaching in person because I love the feedback. I love to hear the stories. It's not, we teach to share this beautiful practice of Qigong. We call it playing Qigong because it's joyful and fun. And
You can never have too much joy. I'm just saying.
right?
Maybe right now, but usually not.
No. But when I do hear, the stories, it's amazing. I often hear, improved sleep. So that's one thing people will say. I had a woman ask if she could invite her husband into the class, and I said, sure, yeah, bring him in. And he's the quiet, silent, strong type. Couldn't really get a read on him. And she, told me later that he had really found emotional balance from the practice. And so to hear, the male perspective on it, I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? The most profound experience I had with a student was right in the middle of class. I believe we were in Lotus Rising, and we were reaching back into the past to invite any trauma or anything from the past forward for healing. And there was a woman in my class, and I knew she'd had a breast project she was working on. We're very careful about how we use our words because we believe the cells are always listening. So, we'll talk about a health project or a breast project or rather than using the words cancer or continuing to feed that messaging into the body. And so I knew she'd had a breast project and she'd had surgery. And she reached back in that moment and she got this look on her face. And I clocked it and I thought, okay, something's happened here. And she finished the practice. And then I turned to her and she was still kind of standing there stunned. And I said, is everything okay? And she said, I had a sensation. And I said, a good sensation? There's that moment as a teacher when you're like, are we doing everything well here? And she said, yeah, a really good sensation. She said, I haven't had sensation in this area in a long time.
Wow.
And so as she'd opened up, the channels in the body where it had been stagnant, she didn't have any chi flowing in there, any, kind of circulation and energy. And she felt what she said was this rush of warmth, of warm energy, and it felt really good. And so she was
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was in. After that, she was like, I'm in. And that's the thing with Qigong is you experience. I mean, I can tell you about it, I can talk about it all day long, but you play Qigong and you have an experience of the practice that's personal to you. And then that pulls you into wanting to play more in Qigong.
Okay, so I do have a question about that then. You talk about trauma and bringing that forward. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not by any means an expert on any of this, which is one of the reasons why we do this podcast, is because largely I'm on an exploratory mission myself. So you bring these things forward, and a lot of issues we may have in our health, and that includes menopause to a great extent. The underlying issues involve trauma and things that have happened to us in the past, and trying to figure out how to heal those traumatic responses and make yourself healthier in the moment. So I'm hearing from you that that's a huge benefit of Qigong, even though we're kind of speaking around it. We're not exactly addressing it head on, but I do know women personally that could benefit from maybe that kind of therapy. And maybe you could comment a little bit more about experiences you've had seeing people deal with traumatic issues that have come forward from the past in their life.
From the past. Yeah. So, I mean, we're really careful. Like I'll be frank with you.
Always good.
Tell you my own experience. Because we're mindful as teachers not to make claims. I don't know your story. I don't know your life. I don't know your health. I don't know your past. I'm not Gabor Mate. I love Dr. Gabor Mate and I love his work. And I quoted him in my book on LS. So in my own personal opinion, not speaking for Qigong as an art or science, not speaking to any kind of research, in my own personal opinion, I told a friend the other day, I said, to me, menopause seems like this energy that comes in to remind us of every injury, trauma, issue, repressed emotion that we didn't deal with 50 years before. So menopause comes in and we go, ooh, ow, geez, oh, huh. And your body's literally going, yeah, remember that? Yeah, over here. You stored some grief over, like all of the things that didn't get dealt with. I just felt like menopause is the gift that comes in and says, okay, let's clean house. So we start to practice because the shoulder feels better and the gut starts to feel better, and or sleeping a little bit better. But then we keep practicing because we ground into this beautiful chi pool that allows us to be more lively and more present and more creative and more inspired in our life.
Holy
That,
smokes, Lorraine, chain us
yes.
to the wall. We got to get in on this. That's
Well,
profound.
as you said that about possibly going through menopause, holding all these things in our body, I had never ever thought of that before. And it's really like, yeah. And when I
That
think
makes
about
perfect
women that I
sense.
may have coached or women that I speak to on a daily basis now, and you can see like some have like this negative outlook, negative perception of menopause, and so they experience more of the symptoms and problems and maybe are not addressing, which I'd never thought of this before, are not addressing the trauma in their life or suppressing it or not even acknowledging that that could be what is causing the symptoms. I love it. I love it.
That's amazing.
And it'll feed itself, right? So, we're a little bit negative, we're a little bit depressed, and part of that's chemistry, physiology, and we're not sleeping. And then it becomes, and so
Snowballs.
yeah, and Qigong is kind of that, 30 minutes where you just go, I'm going to feel my feet on the ground, I'm going to feel my breath, and you have to interrupt the loop, right? There has to be some kind of an interruption. Qigong's a beautiful, playful, happy interruption to that loop.
I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I don't want to forget by the time we get to the end of this episode, and we definitely give the information out to women so that they can find this program. That's very important. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
Yeah. So the women that I speak to, the women that I know that could possibly use this, now, are there any limitations physically that would prevent someone from partaking in this program?
The only limitations typically that come out, and again, everyone's different. I'm not a traditional Chinese doctor. I'm not a physician of any type. I'm a Qigong teacher and practitioner. So I do give, recommendations if there's a health project that we're, hovering over the body or around the area or away from the area that has an issue. You can do all the practices seated. Sometimes where the fatigue is an issue, right? Or spinal issues. I did a lot of Qigong seated for a lot of years until I was strong enough to hold standing practices. So the biggest precautions you'll usually find in traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, acupressure points, is if pregnant, because sometimes there's a downward energy draw, and so you don't want to encourage downward energy in someone who's pregnant. But I deal with menopausal women, so typically we're not, pregnancy's off the table. Or if someone is in an advanced health project, in which case you want to be very gentle, right? It'd have to be a little bit slower, a little bit softer. For a lot of my spinal projects, I laid in bed and I ran my practice, mentally through my head, feeling it through the body until I was stronger to do a little more robust practice. So those are the only precautions. Is pregnancy is the big one, or if you are really in the middle of an acute health issue.
Okay. And usually a session is about 30 minutes. Is that what you said?
So in the program, what I've done is I've broken it up into 5 weeks. So I know, what I'm like with my menopause brain and my attention span, and how long I can sustain something. So it's broken up into 5 weeks, and each week there's a 30 to 40 minute full class. And so you can do the full class either once that week or if you create the space, you can do it every day. You can repeat that class. What I've done to make it simple and accessible is I've pulled out the core practice. So we'll do the full class, and then I'll say, well, here's showering chi for hot flashes, rising energy. And so then there's maybe a 3 to 7 minute practice. Here's rising lotus. So if you just want to practice rising lotus to bring, and we're not just bringing trauma for, I mean, you might be bringing support from the ancestors, right? We have the left is the maternal side. So what does the maternal side have to offer you for gifts and support that you can bring forward? What does the paternal side have to bring forward? So there's the full practice that students can do, or you can really just focus on that 5 to 7 minute practice and feel it. Like, we really want to feel the experience of Qigong in your own body.
Wow,
Sounds
that's amazing.
fabulous.
It does. Yeah. I love the names, the showering practice, the lotus. I love that. They're so pretty.
They're
And
all so fun and beautiful. Yeah, we have Phoenix, Flying Phoenix. We have Lotus
nice.
Rising. Yeah.
That's very Karate Kid, like, right. The standing crane or whatever that was. That's
We have
wonderful.
one where you literally inhale all the resources around you and exhale and create a boundary of light. And sometimes I just sit and do that in a day. If I need to strengthen that boundary, I'm like, we're just going to create some boundaries right now.
Yeah.
Hey, I could use that right now. I could use that right now. Literally. Believe me. Okay. So this is all such good stuff. I'm very interested in all of this.
Yes.
Okay. Is it my turn, Lorraine? I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm getting into it,
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Just come over. We'll practice. We'll go in the backyard.
And I no can defend, Daniel-san. That's right. Okay. Wax on, wax off, sensei. All right. Which leads into my next question. Since we are fortunate enough to have access to you for just a minute while we're doing this episode, can you give us a practice or two that our audience can just sit right where they are and put into use?
Yes. So let's do showering chi.
Nice.
And we'll do it seated. We typically do it standing, but most of the practices can be done seated. And with showering chi, what we're doing is we're typically you don't even have to be in a place of rising yang energy. I do showering chi most days because it's lovely. If you're barefoot outside on the grass or the ground or the earth, really beautiful. So with showering chi, and it can be done several different ways, and it kind of depends on how it feels for you. So again, usually I'll go through it 3 different ways and then ask the student, do you notice a difference? Was one energizing? Was one calming? And then they have the tool to use for whatever they need it for. The simplest showering chi in the moment, in your hot flash, rising energy, rising anxiety. Take the hands. I'm going to stand so you can see my hands. And you would, knees just gently bent, like you're scooping up the earth's energy and you're drawing it up the body. And then you exhale and just let everything rinse out of the body. So inhale through the nose. Draw this cooling energy up the body. Exhale through the mouth to start, because you'll lose more heat. And if you exhale, you'll engage that vagus nerve. So inhale, cooling energy. Exhale, Feel the heat leave the body. Inhale, cooling earth. Exhale, Now let's inhale, cooling earth through the nose. Exhale through the nose. And allow it to slow. Good. Inhale, cooling energy. Let the body relax as you exhale through the nose. A little slower is the breath. Inhale through the nose. Cooling energy rises. Exhale, rest the mind and body. Let the heat drain down. pause for a moment and notice how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Very,
Relax.
very calming. Yes.
Mhm.
Very calming. So if you're, really in a hot flash or really in a state of a lot of energy, you might want to sit so that you can relax the body down into the seat. Sometimes you want to stand outside on the earth so you can feel the cool on the feet. And you're taking that yin, cool yin energy from the earth, and then you're sending that excess heart fire. They call it false fire. Inflammation in the body in traditional Chinese medicine is called false fire, and it takes a lot of energy. So anytime we can calm that inflammation, and showering qi is very good for that, then we can save the body a lot of energy.
That was cool.
I think we'll be doing this soon, Joy.
I know.
Okay, you want to do my favorite one? So we have all sorts of beautiful practices, but here's my favorite. Rub your palms together. Generate some heat. So this is your qi energy coming out the palms of the hands. So rub those together. You can open the fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Go in. Okay. Now take the palms over your eyes. Just for a moment, let the eyes take in some qi. And now massage the face. We'll call this like a qi facial. So you're going to go up the bridge of the nose, around the outside of the face, like you're washing qi over the face.
I'm hitting my mic.
I do this every day. I do it 9 times because in Qigong, we do things 9 times. So I'll do this 9 times. I do this before I even get out of bed in the morning.
Is there a significance to number 9?
Yes. So 3 is the number of life. 8 is abundance, prosperity. 9 is royalty. So in Qigong, we treat ourselves like royalty. Now, Joy, I know you have your headphones on, but pretend like you have qi lasers coming out of your fingertips. So you've got beautiful energy coming out of your fingertips, and then send that energy through the scalp into the brain. This is my favorite. I always say everybody gets a new hairdo in my class. And you can feel that sort of tingly sensation, right? That's qi on the move. And then we go to the back of the neck and we take that and we just pull it forward. Right? And then again, and I got crazy hair. Really crazy hair.
I think we need to take a picture with all of us like this.
I know, right? Qigong hair. And then you take that moment and you notice, right? You notice qi on the move, right? You feel a little more open. Things are a little tingly. Got a little more energy going.
I'm sure everyone leaves your class feeling amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Usually they just sit there like they don't want to move.
But with bedhead.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Who cares about bedhead when
Right.
you got Qigong, right?
Right. Well, we just love this. And now I think this is a great way for us to end now. Joy has a question for you, which we ask all of our guests.
And I am particularly interested
Yes.
in hearing what you have to say about this. We're lucky that we have so many amazing guests on our podcast. It's a magical thing. And every one of them is unique in their own way and wonderful. And one of the questions that we ask at the end of the podcast, and this is a great way to wrap it up, but also a great way to share your personal philosophy with our audience. And that is, knowing what you know now and who you are now, what are 3 things you would have told your younger self?
Care less about what other people think. Always follow your passion, no matter how crazy or outrageous it seems. And don't worry so much about what you look like. Let the Qigong hair flow.
Well, that sounds great to me.
And I love that you are following many passions, which is awesome, especially I love to inspire women that you're never too old, it's never too late. You have something that you've been wanting to do since your 20s and you haven't done it. It's not too late. Do it.
Absolutely. Yes, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And
You gals are doing it. You're leading the way.
we're having a good time. Yes.
Well, being thankful for having women like you to come on the show, inspire women, because I think there are a lot of women out there that really are fearful to take that step, that next step, and just like embrace possibilities, embrace new passions. And I think the women that come on here are definitely inspiring them to take those steps.
For sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you ladies for having this platform and just, I mean, we can hang out here all day and have fun.
I know. I know.
Oh, for sure. I do want to make sure before we let you go that you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find this program, and how they can just connect with your community.
For sure. If you are on Facebook, I do have a private Facebook group called Qigong with Stephanie. And come in there. I've got little short videos. We've got showering chi 3 different ways in there. So you can be part of the community there. You can find the course, Qigong for Menopause. I have another course called Tibetan Sound Healing for Women, that's a whole other conversation, but that's a beautiful course on my website, which nobody can spell. StephanieHrehirchuk.ca. I will spell. Do you want me to spell it?
Well, we'll put a link in
Yeah,
the
we'll definitely.
Great.
notes. Yeah.
We'll put links to everything.
Yeah, so you can find the course at StephanieHrehirchuk.ca and also Cochrane Qigong. I live in Cochrane, Alberta, Canada. So I have CochraneQigong.com up here in Cochrane.
Okay.
Lovely.
Yeah, we will definitely put all those links in the show notes so they can easily find you.
Great.
And for those of you who may not know, Qigong is spelled Qigong, right? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, Stephanie, thanks again so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. And we would like to have you back on for LS and
Other conversations. Yes.
yeah. I mean, I read the book initially because you had suggested it for my menopause group because women are struggling with different things, and that being one of them, but they're being misdiagnosed. And lo and behold, like I said, I was diagnosed. So we would love to get into that conversation in a future episode if you'll come back.
Yeah, that's a big conversation. And it's amazing to me, Lorraine, when you said you ended up with a diagnosis of it. And that was the whole reason for writing that book, because I think a lot of women and doctors didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I thought, well, there's other people out there who may be walking around and not know. So
Yeah. Yeah. So we will definitely have you back for that.
Absolutely. And I do want to take a moment to remind everybody to give this episode a like and a share, subscribe to all our platforms. You can find us on Instagram, see the extended version, or just see the video of, sometimes Lorraine and I do fun stuff like we hum together and things like that. But see the video of Stephanie leading us through the shower practice, right? Did I get that right or wrong?
Showering chi.
Showering chi. Yay. I'm all
Yay.
about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to incorporate that into my sitting practice for sure.
Yeah.
So go check those videos out. Go check out all our platforms. And thank you for supporting us. We've got more fun content coming your way. So please stay tuned. And again, Stephanie, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much, Joy and
Yeah.
Lorraine. I appreciate you too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Until next time.
Mwah.
Mwah. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Girlish Gurus. We hope you'll join us next time for more fun and inspiration. Be sure to check the description of this episode for links and information about the topic, and you can find us on our social media platforms starting with Instagram, Facebook, and now including YouTube. You can find us by searching Girlish Gurus, and you can also check out our website, girlishgurus.com, for more information on us, our projects, books, and our growing community.
And don't forget to download this episode, give it a good review, and share it with your girlfriends. We would also love to hear from you in the comments because the more interaction we get, the more episodes we can post. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.